Steven, it's a new year, it's 2022, and I've got a big, fat, juicy wish that it's going to be a year full of fulfillment here on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. What do you think?
I've got a big old sauce-drenched wish myself just slapped on my plate here in front of me, and I'm going to dig in to a whole nother year of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
It's going to be a big year full of winding down our rewatch of Community and moving on to whatever comes next for us, and to be a part of it with us. There's so many ways to show your support.
We've got a big old warm pool here for you. Come on and slip on your skivvies and slide down the ladder and dive in. How can they get in this pool, Zach?
If you put your toe in the water and it feels fine and you want to get waist deep, come join us on Patreon, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the way to support this show and to help us move it forward as we move into the future. It's also the way to get more of us every week with our live pre-show every week, You Can't Dis a Pre-Show, and all kinds of Patreon exclusive content coming all the time, Steven.
We'd love for you to support us on Patreon, but you can also hang out with us free of charge over on Twitter at You Can't Dis a Pod. We are also on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast, and we're on Facebook and YouTube under the whole name of the show, You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Also, if you would like to be a part of the show every week, you can email us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. To be a part of next week's podcast, write us in your trivia, your favorite funny moment, and your episode MVP for next week's episode of Community, and we'll read it out loud on the show.
If you like what we do here, leave a review wherever you leave reviews about podcasts.
Yeah, maybe like the Sharper Image product review site. Leave us a review there.
There's like a box full of sticky notes at my post office. Write a review and leave it there.
I hope you guys are jumping on board with us and you're ready to traverse 2022 with me and Steven. What do you say? Let's rip our way into another episode of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Cannonball!
I'll put like a big splash.
Yeah!
I'm really excited.
I'm very excited.
I've genuinely been pretty excited about this for a while.
Me too.
I'm really excited to talk about this. Hi, everybody out there. Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. We'll call it that. That's still what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
In fact, it's something special that I've been riffing in my head as America's Next Top Zach and Steven Rewatch Podcast. And we'll get right into that in a second. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. I'm Toilet Zach.
Nice. I didn't think of one.
You never do.
But I truly am Toilet Steven today.
That's true. Steven's a toilet boy, which will make more sense later. More on that later. The toilet will be very relevant, I don't know, in 20 minutes or so. So stay tuned. Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. We're very glad to be here to talk about the first of the 4 shows that are in contention for our next rewatch podcast after we finish this one this year.
I'm so excited, Zach.
I'm very excited. I'm excited for all 4 of the options, but right now I'm riding high on what we're here to talk about today, and that is, of course, if you've read the title, you'll have seen already, Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers!
Yes, I love Bob's Burgers. I'm really excited to talk about it today. But before we get into it, let's shout out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. These are the people that, I don't know, we've got to convince them to stick around.
Yeah.
Because things will be changing soon. We'll be jumping the community ship, maybe boarding the Bob's Burgers or one of 3 other great shows ship.
Bob's Boat. Bob's Burger
The first
Boat.
time you didn't even change the word burger. You just said it weird.
I burped and said Borger instead.
Well, these are the people that have been supporting us on our community program. We're very thankful for them. Our $10 and up patrons are Brandon Fulcomer, Danny M. Lugo, Mary Baker Budisa, Brian Thurman, and the revered Planeswalker Prez.
Hey,
we're very thankful for all those people. Thanks for your support. And I hope at least a couple of you or whoever's listening is just as excited about this as we are, right? Someone's going to be excited, I think.
I hope so. I think that clearly our listeners have great taste. And nothing tastes better than a burger from Bob's Burgers.
Here's what I will say, though. I think there's probably at least one person I can 100% guarantee wouldn't be making the jump from Community to Bob's Burgers with us. And that is, of course, our late, great father at Communities on Twitter. They're
Big
our
Bob
community daddy.
himself.
You know they're our community daddy. What did you say?
Big Bob himself. Communities. Matt from Communities.
I have a feeling that the father-son's relationship probably has a couple months left, right? Who are we kidding?
You know, much like our relationship with our real fathers, time is fleeting.
We'll see each other on key holidays. Maybe we'll get the occasional like on Facebook or something. But we're thankful for our papa while we've still got him. We're lucky to be grown men and to still have our papa by our side, aren't we?
Yeah, you know, I'm really gonna treasure these last few months of getting my booty powdered up and all cleaned off. I like the way he dries my head when I get out of the bath. That makes me really feel safe.
It does feel nice. It does feel nice. How are you, Steven? How are you doing right now? What's the situation as we speak?
So, a little bit of backstory. Yesterday, I went to Burger Fest here in Chicago.
Incredibly fitting.
Yeah. Ad hoc is a term I've learned.
Good word.
Apparently
see all of the possibilities a second podcast has. All
right?
these big words we could be bringing to.
This
that's
is
not
a
really
new
It's actually not a big word.
It's not
it's
a big
very
word.
small words.
It's fancy though.
Yeah.
But I went to Burger Fest, had a wonderful time. I won one of the carnival games, won a giant Squirtle, which is now the largest plush in my home. Which, for those in the know, is an accomplishment because I've got like a
which
big
is
old
no one.
Snorlax.
It's Danny and I guess me.
Yeah.
But now everybody.
But now everyone knows.
But
I also
a squishmallow girl.
Yeah, I am. I'm just a soft boy with an eye. And I ate this big old. You'll find out when you're older, Zach. A big like carnival size like funnel cake, but with ice cream and strawberries and strawberry syrup on top.
What size do funnel cakes come in other than carnival?
Oh, you see, you got your bog standard local fair size funnel cake. You got your state fair size funnel cake. You have your at-home kitchen size funnel cake, which is the smallest of all.
Okay, so but what is the difference between a fair and a carnival? Are you saying a state fair does not host
a fair?
Carnival
is not a
within it?
carnival. A carnival is like with like clowns and a tent.
That's a circus.
Well, okay. How about this? Carnival.
How about it?
Has less than a fair.
Uh-huh.
But a fair has a lot of things that a carnival has, but not necessarily.
I feel like that's not necessarily true.
Well, because state fair has carnival
Shut
rides.
up for a second. Shut up for a minute, please. I'm sick of always having to wait for you to finish talking to voice my
before
own
you
opinion.
talk.
Yeah, I'm sick of it. I feel like a fair doesn't have to have rides.
Mm-hmm.
But a carnival has a shit ton of rides, probably.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have less than a fair. A fair could just have you could just have.
Well, a carnival doesn't have.
You could
cows
just have
and
a
shit.
field of goats and a guy writing stuff on a clipboard, and you could call that a fair.
It's true. That's yeah. Well, I didn't play band at Carnival. I played band at the fair.
Band.
I didn't have any band matches at the.
So Steven's very sick. The point of the story is.
Oh yeah, I ate a bunch of. I ate like a bunch of like burger. I ate a big old funnel cake, and then I drank a lot of alcohol afterwards.
Burger Fest question:
Mm-hmm.
Was it every place had full size burgers, or was there an opportunity to like see? Because if I'm going to Burger Fest, I'm either if I'm like today is the burger day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna max in if I'm pushing myself.
Yeah,
I'm gonna max out at like 3 burgers.
Well, here's the way to do it, Zach.
But if they had like
you work with a team,
smaller size, okay,
and you each get a burger of your choice, cut that bitch up like in half with like someone else, and then you get
even
half
in thirds or fourths.
Yeah, you could do fourths.
Not in
if
fourths.
You had more
Fourths
friends.
is too little. Fourths
is
not
enough to get an understanding.
But
of
I feel like
burger.
a third could. You could do a lot with a third.
Yeah, a third-ger.
So Steven's sick. How are you feeling right now?
I'm doing okay right now. It was a
Steven
rough
didn't
morning.
have thirds. He had too many, right?
And here's what's the thing. I just had one double epic burger with added cheese and bacon to it. And it was like, people can't see this at home, but like, I'd say 2/3 the height of this Gatorade bottle. So it was pretty.
See, but I'm not
size.
into that. I like a burger with a lot of shit on it, but I don't think tall means better. That's just showy.
Well, it was tall because of what was in it. Like it was a thick patty. The bun was like thick and soft and good. It was
There's
great.
no way I'm
gonna
not
a
want
wet
a burger desperately.
It was
after
a
this.
wet burger. It was
I heard you
delicious.
the first time.
I had to like dump the thing out in the trash can before I could eat it. Like it was just sopping.
Oh my God.
I wanted to
With
like
what?
make love with the special sauce and the cheese juice. I was all up in it. Yeah. Burgerfest is great. It smells amazing. Also, I walked in and because there's on one end of the street, there's like one like stage, like a band, and at the other end of the Burgerfest, there's another stage with a different band, but they're far enough away you can't hear them. But like the first one was like playing like I'll Make a Man Out of You by Mulan, and it fucking slapped. It was great. The vocalist was awesome. They did the Office theme song and just like hopped around the stage. People were
With a
getting lit.
vocalist?
Yeah,
What
it was
did the
great.
vocalist do during
Not
the Office
shit,
theme
just
song?
jumped around. It was great. They were like a bunch of like
That's what you do.
40-year-old dudes in like 3/4 sleeve shirts and shorts. It was great. They had like a
Of course they
like, a
played the Office
keyboard.
theme song.
Yeah. They were like a video game band. They sounded like they were playing like do 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 like video game type music in between their shit. It was great.
Well, why don't we dig in? Why don't we cut in, check for doneness, and dig right into what we're here to talk about today?
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about Bob's Burgers, one of the 4 shows that we're considering about doing for our next podcast after Community. That podcast will start at the beginning of next year, and it will be decided by a vote on our Twitter that we'll have later this year after we've done these 4 mini episodes talking about the 4 options. So follow us on Twitter at YouCan'tDisapod to be able to vote for which one of these shows. Bob's Burgers will be one of them, and we'll be revealing the other 3 throughout the final season of Community. So next week we'll be back with Queer Studies and Advanced Waxing, the next episode of Community. And after we get through episode 6, we'll take a week off again and do the second show. We don't know which one it'll be yet. That'll be fun.
We don't know.
As far as Bob's Burgers, let's just start from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I know that we're talking about an episode a little bit later, Glued Where's My Bob. It's an episode from season 6. Steven said it's the first episode that he's ever seen. But is that true? Because I know that's the first episode you watched, in this recent period of getting into the show?
No, that's the first episode I ever saw of Bob's Burgers.
Okay, tell me about it.
So I had like heard of Bob's Burgers, just had never watched it. I had only heard good things about it, but it didn't like jump out at me. I liked Family Guy.
Is it because of how much pop culture stuff about Bob's Burgers there was for a second?
Not
Were you
even.
turned
I
off
think it
because
was
all of
just
the Tina
that
Hot Topic stuff
I was like,
into other stuff.
it was during a time when there were a lot of adult animation shows coming out because of the success of like Family Guy and like Rick and Morty
right.
and stuff like that.
None of them stuck.
And none of them stuck. So
Bob's
I was like,
Burgers
well, I
was
don't want to
certainly
watch this one.
before Rick and Morty, for the
Was
record.
it before Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty's only been on for 5 seasons. Bob's Burgers is on season 12.
Yeah, but Bob's Burgers probably churns out a lot more frequently than Rick
That's
and Morty
true,
does.
but
There's, like,
I think
years
Bob's
in between.
Burgers at least has like 4 or 5
Well, when
years
I
on Rick
heard
and
about
Morty.
Bob's Burgers, it was around the time. I also didn't watch like Family Guy until I got to college, and so
you never really got into The Simpsons.
I liked The Simpsons when I was younger, but I never like binged through the whole show. Like I would watch Treehouse of Horror every year, and like I liked The
Nice.
Simpsons, but it wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to see the new Simpsons episode this week, because by the time I would have gotten into it, the week-to-week episodes were not at the same caliber as like some of the classics.
And to your point, there were a lot of shows being tried out because of the success of those other shows.
Well, and I didn't like
almost
American
none of
Dad
them-
either, and so I was like, well, this is just another one
almost
of those.
none of them made it. There were a couple that lasted forever, and when Bob's Burgers came out, I don't know exactly the timeline, but we're talking a world where shows like the animated Napoleon Dynamite show,
Yeah.
or like Alan Gregory with Jonah Hill,
Jesus.
or there's a show called The Good Family or something.
I remember
All
that
kinds of animated sitcoms that lasted 1 season, trying to fill in the Family Guy, Simpsons, I guess American Dad at that point. That last hole that was empty after King of the Hill ended, and then after the Cleveland show ended, they tried out a lot of things, and Bob's Burgers could have just been the next one of those.
Yeah.
And honestly, when it first started, kind of felt like that too.
Mm-hmm. So I hadn't really seen any of it. I knew like some of my friends really liked it. But I was actually like, my brother and sister were like watching it on Hulu, and I was like, oh, I'll check this out. And it was this episode, and I was like, this is hilarious. And I really liked it, but I didn't get super into it. The next episode I think hilarious. I saw was the Capoeira episode, Sexy Dance Fighting, which is really funny. And then like that's another one here and there. So I saw, I think Brunch Squatch was maybe next. And I was like, or not Brunch Squatch,
Beef Squatch.
Beef Squatch, yeah. I love Brunch Squatch though. But Beef Squatch, I was like, wow, this show's really funny. And then while I was injured, when I first got injured, I was watching through like just shows like that I hadn't caught up on. So like I got caught up on Family Guy. I like watched the newest season of Rick and Morty, but I was looking for a show to just watch through, and instead of just clicking the same random episode, because I would always watch the one with the pot cookies when they go to their like accountant. I would always watch that episode because I thought it was so funny. And so I was like, well, let me just watch through the whole show. And I did. And I was like, this is like my new favorite American animated like show. Like I fell in love with it.
It's one of the best shows to watch like that too, because it's been on for so long now, and it's pretty much all of a similar quality. Yeah. Like there are high points and low points, but it's not comparable to high points and low points of even the best animated shows like The Simpsons and I would say like South Park that have great episodes and awful episodes. I don't think it's very often that Bob's Burgers now 230 something episodes deep,
which is crazy.
Every time I watch the new episode or any episode, I feel like, oh, that's what I wanted out of a Bob's Burgers episode, and it was great.
Well, and even the most recent season has the premiere of the most recent season is one of my like instant favorite episodes.
Remind me.
That's the one with the like sparkle like fairy.
Yeah,
thing.
And it's kind of about Louise being unsure about her girliness or
and like Tina when she's like questioning like if she's like pretty or not. Like that like episode like gets to me. I love it. And then the finale of the most recent season, they do a whole fucking Ghost in the Shell like
I haven't gotten
double
I'm
episode.
still in the second half of the season.
Oh, it was great. Because Ghost in the Shell is like classic cyberpunk anime like at its peak. And so doing a whole like 2-part episode where you do Ghost in the Shell, it's fucking great. It's brilliant.
I watched the first episode of Bob's Burgers. I remember specifically where I was, who I was with, and what I was doing when I watched the first episode of Bob's Burgers, which I don't know the year it started. I was pretty young. I was probably 12, 13, 14 when the show started. I was with my friend Ryan Cage. We were watching it on my phone. Like, I think it was on iTunes before it premiered. Like, you could watch it early. We were watching it on my phone.
So you were a pre-day one adopter.
I didn't stick with it.
Burgers.
I didn't stick with it right away, but I did watch the first episode a couple days before it was on, probably. We were sitting in the Murat or Clues or something, waiting for the performance of 9 to 5 the musical to start.
Hell yeah.
The Broadway tour of 9 to 5 the musical. We watched the first episode of Bob's Burgers. Much like Community, I was pretty young. I watched the first episode around when it aired. I liked it. I kind of like you said before, being with the NBC comedy shows, Fox on Sundays, the cartoons from the time I was very young, and still to this day, has always been one of my favorite blocks because I've always loved The Simpsons. Family Guy's kind of a guiltier pleasure nowadays, but I still enjoy watching it. And I've stuck around to at least check out whatever else they put on. And so I've always been predisposed to probably checking out and liking Bob's Burgers. It was in high school when I first really fell in love with the show, but it was because of a relationship I was in at the time. The person turned me onto the show, and we binged like 2 or 3 seasons of it, and then I couldn't watch it for a long time. And then when I lived on my own for the first time, I was working a job where I was working third shift like all night. So on days that I didn't work, I would stay up all night, and I would finally like restarted and binged through all of Bob's Burgers. And I have really specific memories of it being like 10 o'clock and I'm watching Bob's Burgers with my roommate. 12 o'clock, my roommate goes to bed. 6 a.m., he gets up. I'm still watching Bob's Burgers in the living room. So it's a really fond show to me of binging and I don't know, marathoning, kind of like you, being in a position where you're spending a lot of time sitting around at home. It's the perfect show to throw on. We've got a lot to get through. Go ahead.
I also want to take a moment just to be like, so I'm Archer, big Archer fan, and of course, H. John Benjamin is the voice of Archer and Bob. But there's an episode of Archer where he like one of the like 6 times he loses his memory, where he like ends up like playing basically the role of Bob, where he's like running this like thing, and he like has a wife that's dressed like Linda.
A clip of it.
It's really funny. It's very meta, but it's very funny because they literally like recreate
funny.
the Bob's Burgers like restaurant, but in Archer.
That's funny.
It's pretty
I think
cool.
I've seen clips of it. I didn't know it was a real thing from the show though.
Yeah, it's like a whole ass like plot line.
That's funny.
It's pretty funny.
Well, I want to talk first about a little bit about what makes Bob's Burgers such a special show. What makes it the one of these many great adult animated shows that we think would be a good show to podcast about.
Yeah.
And for me, it's that it has this really real feeling to the family, to the town, to the world, that sure, it's cartoony and they get into some crazy hijinks, but it really feels like this real family that doesn't always get along, that runs this business, that struggles. And I've always loved that, unlike The Simpsons that started off as like The Simpsons are this middle-class family, they struggle, to going on to being like, this episode Homer's on the moon, and this episode Bart's on television in Asia for some reason. The Bob's Burgers has always stayed very, very true, even to the point of the movie that recently came out, to this close-knit family that doesn't have money to do anything crazy, so pretty much every story takes place at home or within the confines of their like daily lives. And I think that's what makes it so relatable. On top of the way that they record the audio for this show, unlike a lot of shows, the cast often records probably not anymore because of COVID, but the cast often records all of their audio in the same room as each other. So that's why these characters have such lived-in relationships with each other, have such quick like comebacks to what the other one says, and it's because they recorded them together. They improv that stuff together, which makes it feel like this really real family, and it just feels really warm. It's funny, it's sweet. I don't know. It's just so great. I love Bob's Burgers.
I feel like I could gush about the voice acting for like an hour and a half, and we've talked about this before. I'm not sure whether it was on this podcast, but about how a lot of anime they record in the same room, and I think that's why I prefer to hear a lot of performances in the Japanese sub, because the emotion is so much more, because you're literally looking at the person you're talking to, and you feel that in Bob's Burgers. They feel like a family bickering with each other, or like coming up with these jokes. And from like a sibling perspective, you know how I love to insert myself in a program. But I think that a good show...
I'd like to talk about that. I'd like to talk about who we think we are in the family.
Because I am the oldest of 3 siblings from a lower middle class income home. There wasn't normally a 2-parent, but I like the dynamics are so true. Like my sister reminds me so much of Louise. She's kind of a tomboy. She is always pranking and doing mischievous things.
Feisty.
And like I think that Gene's such a great and lovable character, and he's that middle child that like wants attention, is doing all the things to get it, but just like is hopelessly lost. And you have Tina, who's like older and awkward and less cool than her younger siblings, and like doesn't really understand why. And she like wants to have a relationship with her parents, but they don't really know what to do because she was the first kid and they didn't have it figured out yet. Like it's so smart, and it seems effortless. Like they don't try to be like, I'm the youngest and I feel bad about it, but they have. It's just so good.
And a lot of it's in the voice acting, a lot of it's in the writing, and a lot of it's in the relationship between the voice actors that helps bring this family dynamic out.
Yeah, and Bob as a character is so good.
I love Bob.
Because he loves his family, but he also like they drive him crazy, and it's great. It's so good. I love
my favorite episodes of the show. Obviously, I love the kids, but Bob is maybe the funniest character to me. So any episode like the one we're about to talk about that really focuses on Bob, or that also has a lot of Teddy in it, I'm really happy. Those characters make me laugh so hard. But as I've gotten more and more into the show over the years, it gets harder and harder to have a favorite of the 3 kids. Yeah. Because I love them so much equally. And it also gets kind of harder to see which of the 3 kids I identify the most with. So I'd kind of like to talk about that.
Can I tell you who I think you are?
Absolutely.
I think you're like a solid mix of Tina and Gene.
That's pretty close to what I was going to say. Yeah. I feel like I have I feel like all three of them live within me, but certainly a focus on those two. I feel like when I was their age, I was probably a Gene. Maybe not quite weird in all the same ways as him, but certainly weird and very entertained and
You're
fond
like, okay,
of
I'm
my
gonna
own
perform
weirdness.
for you with this instrument that I made out of two
Oh my
spoons.
god, that just brought instantly an absolutely horrifying memory that I have. So as a kid, was always so into recording things myself. I like to film, and before I could film, I did a lot of stuff where I would record on like a tape recorder, like a cassette tape. I would
Nice.
talk, I would sing, I would do all kinds of stuff, and oh my gosh, I had like a really creative, collaborative, like preschool probably, like preschool class, and they would often let me bring in like CDs that I liked of musicals and stuff and like share them with the class. And one time I brought in, I was like 6 years old or something. I brought in this tape that was like me by myself singing like an entire musical front to back. And I brought it and it doesn't get as bad as you think it's going to get, but I brought it to be played because I was confident, I guess. I don't know. I'm
they
really
beat that out of
embarrassed
you.
about it now, but I was, they were like, this is going to fly here. No, I brought it in and I said, I brought this tape. I made this tape. I'd like to play it. And the teacher was like, well, what's on it? And I told her, and she was like, oh, wow, that sounds really great. We're going to play it. We're definitely going to play that.
No.
And then she took it and later came back to me and was like, I don't know, the tape player's on the fritz. I don't think we're going to be able
That's
to play
so
it
mean.
today.
I wish she played it.
No, I think that's absolutely the nicest way to do it because it would have been.
But what if all your friends were like, wow, Zach, you're such a generational
I
talent?
do not think I was 6 years old. I was not. Not to say that I am, but I certainly was not at the time. I think that was the sweetest way. I think she like acknowledged that it was cool that I had done it.
Yeah.
And then was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to play it.
I'm not going to put you through this.
And I didn't register it as I was 6, so
Sure.
I was like, "Oh, the thing's broken. That sucks." I don't know. Well, you go. Sorry, that was a really untapped.
No, I'm
memory
happy
in
that
my
we did
head.
that. That's good.
You tell me who. Well, I guess who do I think you are? I think I see all three in both of us. But whereas I might have a Gene and Tina at the forefront, I think maybe you have Louise and Gene kind of at the forefront. I see Gene in you, and you have some of the same performative qualities of where, especially thinking back to in school, and I wasn't that young with you in school, but like you were like the funny guy in a circle of people, and sometimes you would like go a little over the top to cement that, as would I.
Yeah.
And then I think you have more confident, chaotic energy to like do and get away with things in the way Louise does, and maybe not so much. There's always the social anxiety, but not so much of the Tina social anxiety.
Yeah,
that's how I see you. What do you
I
see?
feel like internally, I've like got a lot of Tina, but then I
Sure.
like project a lot more Jean Louise energy.
Sure, I could see that for sure.
Like
That's
I feel
awesome.
like I relate so much to Tina, like having a crush on every single person that like showed them attention, but then getting really defensive about it, be like, well, no. It just so happens that like this person like could be the one. Like I like that.
I
Like I
relate to that too,
definitely
for sure.
feel a lot of that with Tina. You know, the love
That's awesome.
of butts holds true forever.
I do love a good butt. I love a good butt.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
You know, I never mind. That would have
Well,
to be
I
cut.
can already tell.
I was gonna say something, Zach, but I didn't
Yeah.
think you wanted that out there. That
About me.
yeah, because I was gonna say, you know, I can't necessarily relate to the erotic fan fiction, but
Did I write
To
that?
writing
Did I
it.
do that?
you wrote fan fiction.
I don't know that it was erotic.
It wasn't erotic. Well, that's disappointing.
What did I tell you? What are you referencing?
You were telling me about this time that you wrote something and it's on
Uh-huh.
the internet somewhere,
Uh-huh.
and somebody found it.
Yeah, that wasn't fan fiction. That was straight up erotic fiction that I wrote when I was like 12 and put on the internet. And
I want
Years-
nothing more than to read that.
years later, I've made sure it's not there. Years and years later, like 15 years later, I haven't thought about that thing ever.
Yeah.
It was literally one of the first things that comes up if you Google my name. it had my name on it. It was maybe on the second page, but it was like
You would find it.
it was not that hard to find. And there was a point where there were people trying to find dirt for me on the internet, and that was dirt that there was to find.
Oh, that's great. I
man.
definitely, though, see, like, you know, my brother reminds me a lot of Gene. My mom, though, Linda, all the way.
Oh, sure, I could see that.
Yeah. And
Not
I
quite
love
as
Linda.
obnoxious,
Well, depends on the day.
but she's not my mom. Yeah.
Exactly. But my brother's like a solid mix of Gene and Bob because he's more introverted, but he like is also like he's either all in or not in at all. And I think that's a great.
I think as an adult, I also have the duality of Bob and Linda.
Yeah.
The over-enthusiasm and the begrudgingly dragged into everything and then becoming
enthusiastic about it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've got both of that. I think it's already clear that this is definitely a show that we could talk a lot about a lot of times. Before we dive into the episode that we're going to talk about today for the second half of this podcast, I want to talk a little bit. I want to have kind of a live jazz, live brainstorming session of what would Zach and Steven's Bob's Burgers podcast look like.
Yeah. You know, we've talked a little bit. I think there's a lot of puns in each episode, and I'd love to point out some of the like easier to miss ones, like the cars driving by or some of the businesses in the background shots. I'd love to talk
All
about
the
our favorite
signs and
puns
stuff.
and things.
That's funny.
Um,
I've liked the idea. We were talking before
Yeah.
we recorded that I want to kind of make, perhaps as often as we can, making the burger of the week in real life and talking about it on the podcast and like posting pictures of it online and stuff and testing it out and taking some creative liberty with the burgers of the week would be a cool, different, totally different kind of thing to do on our show. I would really love to do a Bob's Burgers podcast. I would love to talk about each of the episodes. I think each of the episodes bring up relatable themes, like relatable real life things. It's definitely not a show that we're going to go second by second in the way that we have with Community, but I think every episode is packed with funny jokes to reminisce over together and to make each other laugh with, and also things that like, oh, my parents totally did that, or when I was a kid I absolutely would have or would not have done this thing, or this is what I would have done. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think there's so much heart in every episode of this show, even the ones that like you wouldn't think would have it. Like there's
like the one we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
It's a really silly concept and there's heart.
There's heart. I love it. I think this show's great. And you've said this before, but it's one of the most consistent shows I've ever seen. Like I don't know a show that has this many episodes and every single one of them I could turn on and be happy to see.
Yeah.
Like even the ones that I like care like less about, I would still be happy to watch them.
Well, that's funny because there are so many shows that I adore that if I was putting a list together would probably be above Bob's Burgers for whatever reason. But then if I talk about each one, I'd be like, oh, but this whole season was bad.
Yeah.
Or like after this happened, it got worse. But here Bob's Burgers is quietly, consistently for over a decade now been churning out. And obviously, I'm sure if we dove into it the way that we dive into Community, looked at every single episode, I'm sure we'd find a consistency, and I'm sure we'd find like, these are the episodes that are great. These are the types of episodes that are not so great, but not in the way that many of my favorite shows are.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't always get the credit that it does for that.
I agree.
For how
I don't think it
consistent
does.
Do you want to talk about the episode that we're going to talk about?
Let's do it.
We're talking about, and we picked totally at random. Steven and I both put 4 episodes out there that
I'm
we
curious,
liked a lot.
what other episodes were you considering?
We
What
can
were
give our
yours?
list.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't tell you mine at all.
No.
So my list, I had Broadcast Wagstaff School News.
That one's
That's
great.
the Phantom Pooper episode with the Tina being the school news reporter. I've got Burger Boss. That's the episode where Bob becomes addicted to a video
Burger Boss
game.
is one of my favorite episodes.
And
That
I
one's
also
incredible.
think that's when Gene is the little Bob, when he like gets the mustache and shaves the back of his head. I've got The Kids Rob a Train, which
That's one
is
of the
where
best.
Bob and Linda, they have like the wine off.
Wine.
And the kids are trying to get chocolate, and regular size Rudy like lives on the train that they're
Yeah.
on. Also really good one. And I put Work Hard or Die Trying Girl, the episode where Gene, I forget how it starts, but he ends up putting on his
well,
own
because
musical.
they're like
and
having
it's
a
mix of
competition to see like what musical they're gonna do, and they end up doing Working Girl.
Die Hard
because
and Working
what's her
Girl.
name knows said that the writer was gonna be there, so Gene puts
Tammy?
on his own in the basement. No, it's the crazy girl that's obsessed with
Millie.
Because Millie's dad's like, oh well, I know what's your name, and she's gonna be here. And so Gene puts on that one in like the boiler room, and so like all the parents go to the. It's a really good one.
That was my list. I would have loved to talk about any of those. And Steven, you give
my
me your
list was Tyrannosaurus Rex, the one where
Great.
she like is driving the empty parking lot and still hits that car. I think that one's really funny.
The only other car.
Bob Actually, which is the I just drew a blank on that episode.
I don't remember that episode by title.
That one's really good. Hold on. I will tell you.
Here, you give the rest of your list. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Glued Where's My Bob, the one we're doing today. And then Large Brother, Where Fart Thou, which is one of my favorites of the whole show. It's where Tina is...
Bob Actually is a Valentine's Day episode.
Okay, is that the...
Season 7, it says, with Valentine's Day around the corner, the kids find themselves in love-caused chaos, and Bob comes up with a romantic gesture to impress Linda.
Yes, I think, yeah, I like that one a lot. I can't remember why, because like looking through all the episodes, it's like, oh, this one, but I can't remember why I was so excited about it. But the Large Brother Where Fart Thou is the one where Gene is in charge of Louise, and they drop that melon out at the window, and it hits her bully. And Bob and Linda go to do their taxes on the last possible day, but they accidentally eat like weed cookies. And then
that's a good one too.
That has one of my favorite jokes in the whole show, where Linda's like, Bob, it feels like I'm peeing, and he's like, Lynn, stop, and she's like, stop peeing, and it makes me laugh so hard.
That is really funny.
It's a good one.
Man, I want to talk about more Bob's Burgers.
I do too, Zach.
But it's going to be totally up to the audience if we do. We're pulling for it right now, but it's because it's the one we're talking about at the second. We're talking about season 6, episode 19. It's the 6th season of finale. It's the 6th season finale of Bob's Burgers.
It's the 100th episode of the show, which is perfect because we just did the 100th episode of Community.
Well, that's true and it isn't true.
God damn it!
It was billed as the 100th episode of the show. Perhaps it was the 100th produced, but it was like the 105th or something that aired.
I feel betrayal.
This episode was directed by Bernard Derriman. It was written by Stephen Davis and Kelvin Yu, and it originally aired on May 22nd, 2016. And this episode is somewhat noteworthy because it's pretty highly thought of in the Bob's Burgers fandom. I'm not as in tune with the Bob's Burgers fandom as I am with Community on like which are the best ever episodes as considered widely. You know?
I see Bad Tina at the top of a lot of lists.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I like that one.
But I've seen a lot of lists put this episode at the top.
That's great.
And also mentioned that it could have perhaps worked as a series finale if it needed to, which I think is really interesting. We got some trivia.
Let's do it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions.
I've got 6.
Oh, why don't you go first then?
What is the business next door?
No idea.
This episode doesn't have a theme song sequence. It goes right into the episode. But you do see the business next door. It's the 100-cent store, and they're having a 1% sale.
That's so funny. That's really funny.
Go ahead.
What's the burger of the day of the interview?
Well, we've talked. We kind of discussed it.
Well, you talked about what was on it, but we didn't talk about what
it's called. I forget what it was called. Is it just the everything burger?
No, that is the hand that rocks the bagel burger.
Oh, I forgot the pun, but it comes with everything bagel.
Yeah.
Steven and I were having a whole conversation about if we did the podcast, if we were making a burger, how we would have made it. And we were talking about it would be fun if Steven and I some weeks both made a burger with nothing but the title and description that they gave us.
Well, and I know exactly how I'd make this burger.
And we both run with it and see what we come up with. I was already postulating that it needs to have some type of like sour cream and onion, cream cheese kind of thing perhaps on it. Well, what are your thoughts? Tell me.
So I would take the bagel, olive oil it, lemon pepper it, toast it.
Sure.
After that, I'd probably I would want more of like either tomato or like maybe I'd like take some regular cream cheese and I'd mix some like diced tomato and some garlic in it. and then make that the paste. But I need some Dijon in there too. So Dijon with that tomato garlic cream cheese. Then on the patty, I definitely want some cheese on this, but not typical like cheddar. I'd want to go with like something a little bit more bitey to counteract the sweet. So I'd go with like an Asiago on the bun, or on the patty. I think that'd be good. And then we were saying we need onions, right? So I'd have some grilled onion, some
grilled
lettuce.
Onion. I was thinking grilled onion too.
And maybe pickle. I would want pickle.
See, I think I'd go a little simpler. I might even do, because I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know about the tomato. But I toast the bagel. I don't have the whole process thought out like you do. I think the burger should probably have some dill in it, some maybe even a little bit of everything bagel seasoning like in with the ground beef. And I think I'd want to do grilled onions. But I'm really torn on what other veggies I'd want. I don't think I'd want tomato. I don't even know if I'd want lettuce. I think I'd put some like sprigs of dill like as a topping. I think I'd want to do a cream cheese, but not like the as busy as the cream.
You could even do like a salmon burger with this. That would be pretty.
I
good.
even thought, what if you like topped the burger with like pieces of the cured salmon that you put on a bagel?
Oh, that might be really good.
But it might not be too.
We're gonna have to try it. I'm excited.
See, that would be one of the
one that we
fun
have
things
to make
about doing this podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited because Zach and I both like to cook, and I think that we'd have a lot of fun making these burgers.
You're better at it than me, but I've been getting a lot better over the last couple of years.
Well, I feel like you've picked up a lot of stuff because I never cook from a recipe, so I'm not actively improving my knowledge of things.
But then you have skills that I don't have because you're better at building a recipe because I usually work off of a recipe.
It's true. We're best of both worlds.
We've done one question. We've done
okay, your next question.
What does Tina get double gooped with?
Ooh, was that grape jelly?
No, that was the first gooping. That was, I think, Gene on the phone.
Yeah.
Tina got double gooped because she's like, oh no, hummus, when she's going to the fridge.
Oh shit.
And then she goes to wipe it off and toothpaste, double gooped, double gooped.
Well, I accidentally answered my own question, which was what did Louise goop the phone with? But jelly. Why didn't Gene take his mid-afternoon poop?
So you knew that it wasn't that, and you still said it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Why didn't Gene take his mid-afternoon poop?
That's my next question, but worded differently. What kind of a cleanse is Gene on? He's on a cheese cleanse, body and spirit.
It's incredible.
So I have 3 left. How many do you have left?
I have 2 left.
Okay, so I'll still go ahead. Because you took one of mine. What is Teddy's goop called?
That's my next question involves this. Teddy's sticky spackle.
That's gonna be my next erotic fiction that I write.
like
all
that.
About Teddy's sticky spackle.
Oh my god. What's Teddy's sticky spackle?
Yep.
Stronger than?
Super glue.
Super glue. Exactly correct.
What does the banner say during Louise's verse of the song?
Louise did absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought that was really funny.
I did that sounds great.
The song is so good, but the animation is so good. It has such a good sparkle on it. I love the like sparkly this isn't real life when like Bob comes out of the bathroom, starts high-fiving everybody, and then he he picks up. Then when Louise is, I didn't do anything wrong, picks her up, puts her on her shoulder. Everyone's high-fiving Louise. Then when it Bob smiles and it cuts to that smile on the cover of the magazine.
So good.
It's so good.
What does
it's your turn? Yeah.
What does ABC stand for?
ABC. Well, now I'm removed enough from the episode that I'm having trouble remembering, trying to think of context.
It's said by the cameraman.
Always be... Oh, it's about taking pictures. But what was the C? Always be... I don't know.
Always be cameraman. No, just kidding. Always be clicking.
What is the C? Always be clicking. I wasn't going to come up with that, but I remember the C now.
Yeah.
My last question. What is Mr. Fischoeder's portrait artist named?
Chirard?
Ciroc. I heard Ciroc.
Chirard.
Like Ciroc, like the liquid.
I think it's Chirard.
Well, we're never going to find out unless we do. We're never going to
find out. That's
not how we're doing things now. I thought that part was really funny when he's like...
Do you watch with subtitles, Zach?
I did not watch it with subtitles.
Interesting.
Did you?
I only watch things with subtitles nowadays. but
depends on what I'm watching.
I like to read
feel like
because I'm an intellectual, and television is mind-numbing. So if I'm not reading, I'm not learning, Zach.
I see. It's not mind numbing for me because when I'm watching Bob's Burgers,
well, but you're not reading, buddy. So,
but I'm really, really focusing on the animation, and I'm really focusing on the backgrounds, and I'm really focusing on like the camera movements. And there are things that I'll watch with subtitles every time, but if I can hear all the background and foreground dialogue like really easily, I don't need to.
I have mine turned on because Danny subtitles help her.
That makes sense
when people talk fast. So, yeah, racist.
What?
You heard it here first, folks. Zach of the Zach and Steven Bob's Burgers cast. You can't diss a Bob a Burg cast.
That's what it's going to be called. I have no idea what to call it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, so let's move on to another segment. We're going to find out, did Steven watch the episode of the show that we might do after Community this week?
This week.
There are certain things that will translate from the Community show to whatever show we do next, and I feel like one of them has to absolutely be the Steven recap every week, because it's a lot of fun, and I can't help but wonder, with the renewed energy of doing a new show, starting fresh, starting a new show, finding a new audience, do you think you'll put any new revitalized vigor into this segment?
You know, I did actually think about it today.
Not today. This is still our first little baby show.
You know, I think I want to spice it up in the future. Maybe try and do like each week is a different character.
I hate it.
I know. I think it would drive you crazy.
But
so I have to think about what would make you the most upset to have to hear not once but twice.
Twice?
Well, when you're editing.
Oh, sure. I don't listen to you either of the times.
That's fair.
So,
it's like, I don't know.
We're going to have Steven. We don't have a ton of time left in today's podcast. We are going to talk a little bit more about Glued Where's My Bob, but this is going to really be the chance to convey to our audience this really great episode that we watched.
I'm feeling pretty good.
For this little side podcast. Steven's going to tell us everything that happened in Glued Where's My Bob.
What if I throw up halfway in the middle of it? Is that more points, less points, extra time, deduction?
Well, here, if it's a situation where... if you can make it to the bathroom, continue describing the whole time, it's an instant A+, probably.
Noted. I can make that happen.
All right, there's 20 seconds not on the clock, because it's not a clock, it's a stopwatch. 3, 2, 1... Go.
Goopja, it's a prank war for the century. Louise is pranking, Bob's burging. Oh, but guess what? Famous chef who loves Bob calls and said, hey, a magazine's coming to interview you. And Bob's like, great, this is my big break. But then he goes to sit on the toilet because Gene clogged one of his toys and he's glued to the toilet. But he can't get him off because it's a super strong sticky spackle from Teddy. So they try these people, they're going to yank him out like a tooth from the door. But then the people show up, they're like, we're not going to interview you.
No, that's struck from the record. You didn't get the you're not going to interview you. I think what you did is a classic Zach Cowboy Bebop situation.
It's true.
Is that you did a great setup. But there's so much more.
I felt a little bit like you in Bebop for that one. I channeled.
Explain to me.
Well, because I gave the setup, I talked about the plot points, whereas in Community I kind of just flounder through the line order of the episode and yell some things. So I tried to be a little more calculated.
You did a good job, but you didn't get it all through. I like a lot of what you got. You got pretty far. Here's another thing that's going to be tough. If we do this show, and if we're going to be grading differently because it's a different show, does mentioning the song or not mentioning the song play into a score?
I think it...
I don't know.
Well, I think that, in the future I'd like to try and incorporate the song.
In this one, I think it did.
Too. Yeah. Because the song's fantastic.
Think that's gonna be a B minus.
B minus.
I was going between a B minus and a C plus. I'll edge up because B for Bob's Burgers, and this doesn't matter. It's not real.
It's true.
I want to get us into one more segment, and then we're going to talk about our favorite funny moments from the episode and kind of wrap up here. Something that I'd really like to highlight if we do Bob's Burgers as a show is how fucking great the guest cast they get for
yeah.
this show is. Almost every episode at least has one big name, often names that aren't doing stuff like this. I mean, this is going to give away one of them that's on. I'm going to have Steven see if he can name any of the people that were guest stars because I've got them all on a list for this episode. I'll mention one because he's in so many of the episodes. Kevin Kline, who does the voice of Mr. Fischoeder. He doesn't do stuff like that very often, and he's on here as Mr. Fischoeder all the time.
Yeah, Kevin
hilarious.
Kline's like an actor. Real actor. Yeah. Like he's like a real actor.
So that takes Kevin Kline as a freebie off the list. There were 8 names.
Let's see. I'm gonna knock some easy ones off. Kumail Nanjiani as what's his name? Scoot Magruder. Who's the
That's close, but that's not gonna filter into it. It was Skip Magruch.
Skip Magruch.
Skip Marooch.
We've got Ken Jeong as Dr. Yap.
Yep.
We've got was Aziz Ansari in this episode as
No, but good try. As Daryl. Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of them are people that show up a lot. Are you running out? Do you want me to just tell you at this point, or do you want to keep trying?
Hit me with it, because I want to know who you're counting as like special.
Okay. So in this episode, I still don't know. No, I still don't know who this character was, but Pamela Adlon was in this episode.
What the?
She voiced a character named Olsen.
Olsen.
Do you know who that is?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
No, because that's not the old lady, is it?
Maybe it is the old lady.
Is that who voices her?
I'm gonna look it up really quick.
Yeah.
I should have earlier, but I didn't. Oh, Olsen, and I almost thought, is this the voice that Pamela Adlon was? Olsen was the black news lady.
Oh, really?
Who was guy on toilet.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Pesto was like, I hate Bob.
Okay.
That was Pamela Adlon. Interesting. Also Rob
respect to Bob's Burgers for firing him after he was at the Capitol
riot. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for doing a great job, something I noticed in the Bob's Burgers movie, they do everything they need to do with Jimmy Pesto in the movie.
He doesn't say a word.
Without him saying a word. He has one moment when the sinkhole happens and the restaurant's in danger where you just get this ominous shot of him seeing it and like smiling really big. Like, oh my God, it's happening. Yeah. But he doesn't say anything. And then later on, they Teddy goes to a party at his house, but you don't see him. I thought they did a good job of honoring the character. It's not the character's fault. Jimmy Pesto is always going to be at least kind of important to the show because Jimmy Pesto Jr. is Tina's love interest for all. You know what I mean? And I think they did a good job. I feel like they should recast the character.
I do too.
And that's another thing. I'm sure there was a draft of the movie where he was in it. Because movies take years. That movie was in production a long time, like 5 years. Also, we got Rob Hubel as Newton. I believe he was one of the reporters. Do you know who Rob Hubel is?
Not by name.
If I pull up a picture of him, you'll recognize him. There's a really famous gif of him like throwing glitter in the air.
Nice.
He is...
Oh, I do know who that is.
Did you look him up?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
This guy.
I do. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, he's in a lot of comedy stuff.
He's in Children's
Hospital. We also had Keegan-Michael Key. Was he the other news guy. He was Corey. We've got Tim Meadows, who is the mailman. He's Mike the mailman. And finally, we've got Jenny Slate, who does the voice of Tammy.
Jenny Slate is great.
Jenny Slate is great. I'd love to see the Marcel the Shell with shoes.
I cried at the trailer.
Yet. And of course, she has a really great cameo in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, she does. That's great.
Her character's name in that movie is literally Big Nose, like in the credits.
Holy shit.
That's literally what they call her in the movie.
Jesus.
We don't have a ton of time left. I wrote down quite a few favorite funny moments. Do you want to
I did too.
Rapid fire through
Let's rapid fire. Lynn, guess who that was? Alive or dead?
That was my favorite one. Or not my favorite, but that was my first one that I wrote down. And then he's like, no, Skip Marooch. And she's like, oh, so that's why you said Skip Marooch. Okay, so I'll skip that one. I put, who is Bob Belcher? What is Bob Belcher? Where is Bob Belcher?
I've done interviews in the bathtub. I do both parts. I walked out once.
I really liked, Gene's stuffed animals are in the toilet. He clogged it. His stuffed animals are in there. Well, no, we should probably, deal with it. It's like, well, he's not ready yet. He goes in there to visit him.
The whole bad stuff happens in the bathroom. That whole song was
oh my gosh,
funny,
so
but also,
catchy.
So good.
I almost had the thought, So Bob's Burgers made the jump to the big screen.
Uh-huh.
And it did not perform the way that I wish it had.
Mm-hmm.
SpongeBob SquarePants
SpongeBob has an emotionally charged.
SpongeBob SquarePants made the jump to Broadway, a stage musical that is quite good.
The videos I've seen on TikTok are way too good to be.
It's
a
quite
SpongeBob
good.
musical.
There's a full professionally filmed like Nickelodeon special of it.
Really?
It's quite good.
Is it on Paramount? Do you think?
I don't know. It's very, very true to the cartoon, even to the point that there's like a sound guy who's kind of, you can see him from the orchestra pit, who does all of the like walking noises for all the characters. So like the squeak of SpongeBob's shoes or
That's
like
awesome.
Squidward's like. Could Bob's Burgers make that jump?
That would be
to
incredible.
Broadway.
That
would.
be great.
I think they could absolutely do it.
There's so many great songs,
or they could
do
write
new ones,
new songs
because all the new songs are so good.
This song would be a great stage moment, and I think it would be pretty fun. Of all the animated shows, I think this would be an interesting one to see, not in a movie or on screen, but on stage, children playing Gene, Louise, and Tina.
Oh, yeah.
That's my $1 million idea. Bob's Burgers. Okay, so where were we at? It's my turn.
Yeah.
Or what, did you say one after I said the stuffed animals? Did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I put Teddy the therapist. And he was like, well, my therapist is always telling me I put myself after others too much, but, oh, Bob really needs me. I'm out of here.
Mine's a Teddy one as well. When Teddy took his shirt off to go charge the door.
I'm coming. I'm taking my shirt off.
Hilarious.
I also just wrote down the little moment of the door opening to the bathroom and Bob saying, hi, Marshmallow. Hi, baby.
Hey, baby.
I thought it was really funny. I
love how much Bob loves Marshmallow.
Yes.
It's just too much butt, Bob.
Is it in the same episode where he's talking about Marshmallow and it is like she's truly free?
No, that's a different one, I think.
I was watching that recently and it was a really, really cute moment. What did you say?
I said when they're like, well, how's it going, Teddy? And he's like, Bob, it's just too much butt, Bob. And he's like trying to
there's too much hair on
too
your
much
butt.
hair.
I wrote down, even though the guy that does the voice of Jimmy Pesto, when he was on the news and all frantic,
oh my
it was
God,
really funny.
Come to Jimmy
like, I should have
Pesto's.
told you that I hate him. Come to Jimmy Pesto's. And then same with the like couple that was on after him.
Yeah, the old lady.
And then the roller skate guy comes behind and is like, everything's a construct. We're all stuck.
We're all stuck on a toilet called the Earth. My
else?
last one was when they were chanting Toilet Bob, and he's like,
Bob.
but in a good way. He's like, please stop. Just chant Bob.
One of the always funny things is like Bob muttering, oh my God, please stop. When like, everyone else is like in on something against him, like positively, but he's just tortured by it.
Stop it.
Last thing I wrote down was, oh, I got to call you back. Apparently water's not a train. I'm sinking.
I'm in an all-terrain vehicle, Bob. I can go on any terrain.
Did you hear the thing about the helicopter? So we only have a couple minutes left. We're only going to do an hour for today's podcast.
Yeah.
And clearly, which I think is great, because if we did a Bob's Burgers podcast, it would be so easy to still do an episode on this episode.
Yeah.
How does Bob... I don't remember how Bob first met Kumail Nanjiani's character. Do you remember?
I think he like came in one day to the place and like had the burger and like loved it. And he's like, oh, I'm this like chef. And he's like, oh, you're this person? That's awesome.
That's something that Bob's Burgers does that's actually really cool that other shows don't. All the animated shows have these characters that come and do their purpose for an episode, but Bob's Burgers has them show up again in the future
all the time
and like jumpstart the next story if they're not going to be like a big part of it.
Yeah.
Like one I think of is there's like the cab driver that she shows up in a lot of episodes.
Limo driver. Have some respect.
Limo driver. I was thinking of the episode where Bob's the cab driver.
That's a great one.
As we wrap up this podcast, it was kind of a mess, but it was a lot of fun for me because I love Bob's Burgers very much. I think the case needs... Well, is there anything you want to say about Glued Where's My Bob before we...
I think that this show does an incredible job of showcasing every kid's individual relationship with not only each sibling, but each parent. And this is a kind of subtle Louise and Bob one.
Absolutely.
But it's a good one nonetheless because their relationship is really good.
I wish we could talk another hour about.
But this is great
we
because we might get to talk about this episode again, and we'll have all the same feelings and more to say about it.
And at this moment, I kind of hope we do.
Zach, yeah, because so we each kind of brought like two, like we agreed on all the ones that we did, but like we kind of each kind of brought two, and this is the one of the two that I've been like pushing the most for, and one was from each of us.
Our favor has changed as the time has gone so far, and it will continue to change as we do episodes on those other 3 shows.
Yeah.
And I am completely willing, even if I have a favorite or you have a favorite, if there's a clear winner, to do that, because that's what I want to do, and I'll be happy to talk about any of these shows. But in this moment, I really want to do a Bob's Burgers podcast. And let's talk a couple of things. If we started a Bob's Burgers podcast at the beginning of next year, we would be about 31 when we catch up to where the show is right now if we continued podcasting. That's like one thing. If you want to be listening to me and Steven guaranteed, unless like something happens, obviously, but if you want to be guaranteed listening to us for a long ass time, Bob's Burgers is the show with the most episodes of the 4 that we picked. I think we need to spend these last couple minutes making the case. Is there anything that you'd like to say to potential voters in the audience? And we'll do this for every show.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say to potential voters in the audience of why, for you, Bob's Burgers should get a vote?
I think Bob's Burgers should get your vote because not only will we have all the same, great feelings that we have about Community, there's so much of it. There's so many holiday episodes. I think there's so much potential for like real deep insight in the episodes, but also a whole heck of a lot of fun. And hearing Zach and I sing these songs every week is going to be a delight.
I think we should strike that from the record. Jerome, can we get that stricken from the record?
Hearing me try and sing all these songs every week.
We're wanting to get people to vote.
But I think that we could do a lot of cool burger stuff too. And everyone loves food. Everyone loves watching people make and eat yummy food. And I think that we can do some fun stuff with that.
Yeah, I think Bob's Burgers both has the potential for all kinds of great conversation. It also has the potential for maybe one of the best variety show type podcasts out of these shows. I think it'd be a really fun show to come up with segments, to do the burger thing, to talk about food, to talk about...
Super easy to bring a guest on to talk about this show too. And I already have a lot of people that like... just the notion that this might be a thing are like, oh, I want to come on and talk about like this episode.
Like
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and the prospect of maybe getting to talk to someone from the show at some point, literally anyone.
Well, almost anyone.
Well, I think we could get an interview really easy with at least one of the cast members. Come on the show. I don't know your name, but let's talk about it. You were funny on Arrested Development.
Yeah.
I think you should strongly consider voting for Bob's Burgers. I think there is a great chance that it would be a really strong follow-up, maybe even a better follow-up to this first podcast we've done. However, there are 3 other shows that are very in contention for that title as well. And we've got 3 more to talk about, 3 more to earn your vote with. So keep these thoughts in mind, and in a few weeks, we'll take another break from Community to talk about show number 2, which is exciting.
Now, before we finish, Zach, we're going to talk about our employee of the day. Or week.
Sure.
What are we going to call it?
I forgot to mention it because I had trouble picking one, kind of, because everyone's in this episode. But also, it's easy because I'm going to pick Bob because Bob's probably my favorite character on the show. And this is one of those best situations that he just gets stuck in. And he's really funny. And both, like... Okay, so I also watched the first episode of the show today, and when the show started, it was almost a little too mean. They were really mean to each other. They can be tough on each other, that's fine, but the first episode was kind of mean-spirited. I love Bob's demeanor when he gets stuck in situations like this, that he is annoyed and he'll, like, tell everyone around him to f*** off, but he does it with so much love in his voice, I feel, and I thought it was a really great episod for that.
Yeah, I chose Bob as well. Honorable mention Louise. I had to go with Bob on this one. I think it's just so funny. Bob is at his best when he's like super uncomfortable and nervous and anxious, and that's this whole episode for him. And I think it's just so funny how his family like tries to help but just makes everything worse. And he's like, please just stop, and they just won't. And it works for me every single time.
Absolutely.
So I love it.
I think it would also be fun. I love ranking things. After we're done with Community, I'm probably going to rank all... I've thought about doing a YouTube video ranking all the Community episodes worst to best. And I think it would be. I would probably do the same thing with Bob's Burgers if we do it. It would also be fun to rank the songs.
Oh,
to keep like a running list of like a tier, the songs from Bob's Burgers. And this would be easy A tier, possibly S tier.
Possibly S.
It's hard to say just off of watching this one episode because so many of the songs are so good. But it's got potential for being one of the best songs from Bob's Burgers.
This is one of my favorites. It's really good.
Well, let's wrap this thing up. I want to plug a couple of things as we're wrapping up. And a big thing right now is you should follow the Twitter for two reasons. Later this year, we're going to be hosting this poll. The only way to put in your vote to help us decide what show we're going to do next over on Twitter at YouCan'tDisapod. The other thing is we've kind of changed up our recording schedule, so we can no longer at the end of an episode be like, email in your questions for next week's community episode to the email address, because we're recording weird. We're recording on different days now. So the Twitter, if you're someone that likes to email in questions for us, the Twitter is where you will find the days that you need to email. So that if you want to email into us, that's your best bet of knowing exactly when to do it. So send those in to can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, and also Patreon. You can support community in these last few months. You can support whatever show we'll do next, help us get off the floor running with that one, and get all kinds of new content, like the weekly rewatch podcast of Cowboy Bebop that we do, Brokeback Bebop, the live pre-show. You can get your name read out on this show. You can get a postcard from us, all kinds of stuff. So patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. And Steven, I mentioned the Twitter, but where else other than Twitter and Patreon can the people find us?
If you already are following us over at You Can't Disapod on Twitter, you can hit that little home button and swipe over to the little camera picture and click on Instagram and follow us at Can't Disappoint Podcast over on Instagram. That's where we sharing all our memes and pics and cute little selfies. And you can also follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Smack that subscribe button, grill it up real nice, and throw a bagel on it. Over at the whole name of the show, You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. That's where you'll see all of our videos, our roundtables that we've done. If you want to take a look at our mugs, that's where to do it.
Well, this has been really, really fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to this as much fun as I've had talking about it. So sound off to us. Let us know what you think. Do you think Bob's Burgers is a good idea for a podcast? What did you like about this one? What do you like about that show? Steven's pleased as punch with himself right now. And next Monday, we'll be back as always with the next episode of Community's final season. The first of the final 10 episodes of Community.
Wow.
That's Queer Studies and Advanced Waxing, so don't miss that. And I think we've done it.
Yeah, play us out, Zach. You've got a ukulele behind you.
Okay, 1 second. I have never played a ukulele before.
Here we go. Human
From
music.
inside the Wonder Wharf, I'm
Heyo.
Zach.
I'm Steven.
Black Lives Matter. What's a pun? You got a pun?
Give me a topic and I can give you a pun.
Okay, ground beef.
Ground beef. Make sure you take it easy on your cows this weekend. They may get a little rowdy, but there's no reason to ground your beef. Heyo!
That was okay for just coming off of it. Now, Boise. Do one on Boise.
Boise. You can blame your girlfriend all you want, but I'm the hoe. Hey, yo. Idaho.
If you have to explain it afterwards before you get the laugh.
Potato.
All right, this is really fun. We're going to get out of here. I'm now putting a cane on Steven's Zoom screen to yank him off the stage. We'll see y'all next week. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bad stuff happens in the bathroom. I'm just glad that it happens in a vacuum. Can't let them see me with my pants down. Coasters magazine is gonna be my big chance now, but I'll be out of here in no time. I'll be doing interviews and feeling just fine. Today is gonna be a great day. I'll do Coasters magazine and blow everyone away.
Let's be clear, I did absolutely nothing wrong. I'm not to blame, it's not my fault.